Alright, tell me about Dorian Ryan. Talk about as many people as you can.
All I know is that he was the dude that literally all of his videos, he's in some training ride with another world tour team on his bamboo bike.
It's a bamboo bike.
I think so. I feel like he said the frame was made of bamboo and holding outrageous power, keeping up with Romain Bardet and all the others.
Is he the Australian guy?
Yeah, I think so.
Is he the one who, when he did like a ride with Caleb Ewan, and he was like, I almost out climbed Caleb Ewan, or I almost didn't get dropped.
In that like world's hardest group ride.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's him or not.
okay. Well, I was thinking, the guy who was on the Lotto Sudal, maybe. He might have been on Caleb Ewan's team, but he's the skinny dude who like basically just talks about his cooking, and then he like goes on hiking trip, and then he walks you through like it's the average day of a World Tour rider.
Oh, is that Harry Sweeney? Harry
Yeah.
Sweeney. Okay.
So my theory is that EF signed him just because
he has the YouTube presence.
And that's kind of what EF has been doing, because you could tell, like, if you watch his new movie, it was very much guided in like everything he did. He wanted to make sure he's having, oh, Roth is doing it right. Like they just know what they're doing. But I think this might be the slickest kit in the world tour. I don't know, maybe it is, but looks better than last year's. But I don't know. I think with the bike industry struggling, that's kind of their play.
Which makes sense because they have Lachlan doing the same thing. I feel like did you watch the Continental Divide video he just put up?
I was doing everything else while I watched it, so I didn't really watch much of it. I think it's cool. And I think he like legitimately loves doing it. What can you say? I mean, they made it as exciting as they possibly could have.
Yeah, I always wonder if it's actually and that one was probably for a few parts pretty intense. But I always wonder if it's actually as intense as they make it seem, or if that's just built up.
I think it's harder than it seemed.
Yeah.
So I was who was talking about it? The Bonk Bros guys were talking about it, and they were saying that they thought he was the best cyclist of all, if you take into account everything. And I didn't agree. Like I was like, that it can't be. But just like thinking again about riding all day for that many days in a row.
So he was sleeping in like hotels though, right? Like I was trying to figure out what was going on. Like
you have to sleep. There's a set amount you have to sleep, or you have to sleep each night.
Huh.
But he can do that, and then he can show up. They were saying at Leadville and pace Keegan to shatter the record and still finish second. And what their point was like, how many people can do both?
Just like an endless supply of energy. Yeah. Can do like those like short efforts and the multi-day, all day, all night things. Yeah.
So like I think that's EF's approach. I think probably because Cannondale is worried. We've already seen like in US cycling the negatives of, or I guess the negatives of making stuff cost too much and people not needing it anymore. I mean, what's going to happen to Legion?
Are they still a team? I don't even know.
They just posted that they signed somebody. So
it's gonna be Justin Williams and a few people, with Justin Williams getting suspended every other week.
Oh yeah, is he still suspended?
I'm not sure. He got a 3-month ban, but that was over the summer, so I'm sure he's not still.
But is it 3 months in competition, or is it?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Because then his brother Corey is on Miami.
He just joined Miami Blazers, and
so I thought they owned Miami Knights. They don't.
I don't know. I think that Justin Williams created Miami Blazers, and I think Dante was a guy in Legion, right?
Yeah.
And he went over to Miami Blazers.
So they own Blazers, but they don't own Miami Knights.
I'm not sure.
I think
who's on Miami Knights.
I think the Crit Series, that like new points-based thing, is Blazer or Miami Knights and Denver Disruptors, and then whatever the Butcher Block, the team on.
And their whole thing is they're like making it like city names, right? Each team is like,
Yes.
so they're like,
But there's only like two of them.
but like, didn't like Project Echelon go in as like a different team name?
That was the crit championship. You're gonna be like, what is going on? Like the fourth different thing. That was, remember the Legion race where they,
Yeah, yeah,
like everyone was saying, they didn't give the like $4,000.
yeah.
I think this was their second attempt or their other attempt at hosting a race, and it was called like the Crit Championships. And they took all these teams and put numbers on their back, which is like kind of the cool idea that they had. Everybody has a number. And yeah, the Project Echelon was like the Milwaukee like
Yeah, that's what I'm
goat
thinking
herd
of.
or something, like or like the
Is that the one where they had to do like a Zwift power test to get their placement?
nope, that's back to the
That's
that
NCL.
NCL. That's NCL.
And that's where they have like you can sub people in and out.
That's where you can sub people in and out.
Okay.
That's the one that like Jalen Ramsey and a lot of people have.
Oh,
money in.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's
yeah.
the one that actually is getting money
Some traction.
towards it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, do you think that that is how crits should be set up, or do you like it how they are?
I don't know. I mean, I just don't even know. Like, I think people want to see super packed riding with like dangerous, lots of action, and with the subbing, I don't know if that's gonna happen. I feel like it'll like create naturally like breaks because I feel like every time you sub, it's like if you're on the back foot, it puts you further on the back foot. If you're ahead, it ends up being an advantage, and I feel like it'll naturally split up the field enough that you won't quite get the like pack dynamic close group racing that you do in a natural crit. Um,
You do have to start from a standstill though.
yeah, so I was just like, I feel like I watched one of the NorCal videos or he did it. And it was like you go until you're tired, and if you like push too far and you're like on the back, you're subbing out as your guy
Oh,
comes
you're
in.
losing.
And that guy's starting from a stop from the back of an already moving pack. So by the time he finally catches up to the back, he needs to sub because he's tired. And it's like these strong teams that have the front,
Oh,
I feel like
it's
end up
just-
getting less competition. I don't know.
Mhm.
I almost feel like the way crits are regularly makes it more exciting. But
So for a spectator, you'd say eliminate the subbing. What about the points per lap?
points per lap is fun. I think that'd be cool. I mean, it's like a preem, but with more of them, I guess.
Mhm.
I guess it was a little bit hard to keep track of if they have a way to
I
like,
was gonna push back
make it
pretty
clear.
hard for that reason.
yeah. But I like if they could make it so you can, as a spectator, without knowing much of what's going
Scoreboard
on,
or
yeah,
something.
be able to see that. That would be cool.
I like the idea of a preem, and I think the crit championship had like quarter. There was a actually I liked it till they said what it was called. It's the MVP award. You know, the most valuable peddler. Like a green jersey. Yeah, so that killed it. But instead of it being every lap, they had, I think, three laps, every 12 laps, or I don't remember how many. Um, three different times where the first person across the finish line gets points, and then the most points from the finish. I guess I don't know if it's from a spectator standpoint or a thinking of picturing myself being in the race. I don't know that I would love having every lap be for points, but I don't know. I guess if you could keep track of it, maybe that does make it more exciting. I would say maybe in the same vein, if every lap is for points, their strongest teams are almost gonna. I don't know if they would walk
Yeah,
away.
does it create more incentive for breakaway or less, or does it create like more desire to chase back a break or less? I wonder if it would make it almost less dynamic of a race because everything gets chased back immediately.
I was gonna say more incentive to chase back. You have to chase
Yeah.
back if you're, but if you get, yeah, I
Like, is
guess
everyone
we
just
did-
gonna be smoked after 20 minutes of chasing and then something gets away, or
I think it might have to be a longer race for people to get away. If people are, when you're at that level, I mean, you think about, I don't know if you were paying attention to this, over the summer, I don't do anything, so I've watched every stage of the tour pretty much. they started showing like before, sometimes they would start the coverage before the early break got away. And it was taking an
Mhm.
hour and a half of
For a
like
break to be
unpacking.
established.
And not that
Mhm.
these guys are on tour level, but they're on equal footing and they're strong enough. I don't know that something's getting away in a crit like that.
Mhm.
I could be wrong, but
Yeah,
which I don't know what conclusion that brings. I like the idea, like I think that it needs to be like a league, like a couple different companies, groups have endeavored to do. Like I like the idea of there being like a series. Um, but I don't know about points every lap.
yeah,
I also don't think anybody cares.
yeah. I think people are gonna
I
ride
don't
their
know.
bikes and do whatever races are there.
I don't know why Jalen Ramsey and all them invested in it. Like I'm glad they did, but I don't know what future. It doesn't seem like crits are going forward. It doesn't seem like that's the way forward. But
Yeah, yeah. You are kids these days who are into biking
what kids
looking at
like
looking at the future in crit racing, or more of them doing cyclocross or gravel or
gravel?
where?
I
Yeah,
think it's got to be gravel, and even that. Just watching YouTube on all the guys that are, um, what do you call it when you don't have a team?
the
Privateer.
privateers.
All the privateers not able to find sponsors. Like there's talented guys that are having trouble
Yeah,
finding
yeah,
sponsors, and if that's what everybody's drawn to, and when you're having trouble getting sponsors with that, I don't know. I don't know why somebody would want to get into cycling for as a
as a
career.
career.
Yeah. That being said, like I enjoy doing it for fun, and you can whatever you can be competitive in whatever outlet you are in, but there's just not much there. I mean, you see the guys that are incredibly talented, and they're just like not making as much as you know teachers do
Mhm.
for. I would argue a lot more work than I do.
Harder work at least.
Would you? So that being said, if you had the talent to be, let's say, domestic pro, what avenue of cycling would you pursue and why?
Oh man. So I feel like I would like to be a gravel rider, but I think you have to have, I mean, the only thing that matters is your social presence, like on social media or influencer presence, whatever you call it. Um, I honestly feel like you might have better luck as a road cyclist joining a team. Like those guys, they don't have to worry about getting their own sponsors. The team gets the sponsors. They don't have to worry about bikes. There's bikes provided. Um, there's definitely a ceiling, whereas there's not as much of a ceiling with gravel riding. I guess theoretically you could. I don't know how much those guys are making. Maybe some of them making like $1 million or more.
I have no idea.
Maybe way more, maybe way less. I don't
I
know.
would guess way less, but I have no idea.
But yeah, I keep on watching these YouTube videos and like see these other guys that are like in the mix coming third and fourth place. I'm like, that's someone I've never heard of, and they probably don't have many sponsors. They're probably
In
just
the
like
gravel
paying their
races.
way in the gravel races.
Mhm.
I was like, man, if you're not,
Did
yeah,
you see how much it costs to do the Lifetime Grand Prix? Like the predicted
for like signing up for the race or
signing
everything.
up for the races, traveling.
Well, I know Alexei Vermeulen said he thought that he spent $40,000 in 2022 for the Lifetime Grand Prix.
Holy
Which
cow.
that guy, I guess he's got sponsors paying for that, but
Yeah.
that's like not possible for
Yeah.
someone trying to break onto the scene
That was the
without
year
a
that you
sponsor.
had to pay for entry,
Mhm,
and then
mhm.
you got
So
free entries the next year.
last year they had free entries. But I mean, you still have to travel. You still have to find a place to stay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know how much it would cost even now.
I was gonna say I heard over 20
Okay.
was the and 20 grand for like who's making 20 grand from
Yeah, that's wild.
so you join a road cycling team even if that wasn't your bread and butter like
I don't know, man. if I'm trying to make a career out of it, maybe probably just do something else.
Definitely should do something else.
Then what, you're 30 something years old and all of a sudden you have no job skills, you have to retire and you become Phil Guyman.
Well, he's probably making more money now, to be fair. I will give you a different perspective. I like to think I would do gravel, but I wouldn't. Because it would be the worst. It would be the worst. Like 10-hour races
Mhm.
if you're doing Lifetime Grand Prix, what is it, 3 out of 7 at
At
elevation?
elevation, yeah.
That's just like pain for a long time, which you're good at. I'm not good at. And even if I was good at, if I have any chance of seeing a little bit of success doing 90-minute or 60-minute races instead of 10-hour races, I would think I would get burned out. Even if I was talented enough, which I'm not, I would get burned out so fast just from like the soul sapping that
Yeah.
gravel would do. The training required, I think you can be a competitive crit racer with a lot less hours on the bike than gravel. And then you take into account, like you said, like trying to get your own sponsors, that kind of thing.
What do you think's more dangerous? Or what do you think is
Oh, crit racing is more dangerous, I think.
so probably more crashes. Do you think they're as bad?
I think
Like
so.
a-
Has there been a bad gravel crash?
I don't know, I was just trying to think.
There
I
was
mean,
the what was the last race? Not the Rad,
Big Sugar?
Big
Did someone go
Sugar,
down to Big Sugar?
the South African dude. the
Oh, he died,
specialized
right?
dude. What?
I think someone died. Shoot. There was a yes, dude. It was at Leadville. This Kenyan site. This is not what you're talking
That's
about.
not what I'm
though.
talking about. No, the only reason I laughed is because this was not at all what I was talking about.
I think it was a Kenyan cycling team had brought like 3 or 4 of their riders to do some race and then Leadville. I think it was Leadville. And I think the guy crashed on the descent and died. I have to look it up. I don't know his name, but
I was talking about the South African guy that rides for Specialized.
Matt Beers.
Matt Beers had a crash. It wasn't.
Oh, with
terrible.
Kerry Warner, right?
Mhm, mhm. I still would say, I would take gravel being the crash being your own fault. I mean, obviously you have a different perspective of that now.
Yeah.
But as opposed to crits, like, I mean, anybody hits you and that collarbone, shoulder, whatever, that
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah, and it's harder to swallow if it's not your fault, I guess.
And just the way crits have changed. I mean, last season, any race that wasn't being next to a 1 or a 2, like everybody's like elbows out on lap like 4 of 25, just like screaming at you that it's their wheel. And it's like
Deviating
so
from their line.
wild. Yeah, because they see the pros doing it. I think the pros can do it, don't always have to. I think probably there's been some like example setting that maybe didn't have to be set, but like seeing that translate down, like that's the thing about crits that I think is so like unnecessary.
Yeah.
Everybody feels like they do have a chance to win because you kind of do, but it makes people ride so silly.
Yeah. But then you go into gravel races and you know full well, like, especially nowadays, like you don't have a chance. Like there's 5 or 6 people, probably 2 or 3 now, that are like contending to win. There's a small handful that are like maybe going for top 10. And then there's like everyone else, and it's just like there's no stroke of luck they're gonna get to like somehow beat everyone else.
Ripping all year for
With
a
the-
top 20 or top, yeah.
The crit, at least there's like you feel like you got a chance.
I wonder if in those top ones, if crits, obviously more so you have a chance, but it's still, I think in those top ones, it's even more, or there's less people who are likely to win. Still obviously more than gravel. Like, yeah, I mean, on any given,
Mhm.
yeah, that's not a fair point. I guess I'm just thinking compared to like the lower ones, it could be anybody of 30 people. Probably still could be anybody of 30 people in those
Yeah.
top tier.
So for reference, we were Cat 3s last year. This guy upgraded, but we were like the
Now I'm gonna lose
smallest.
by even more.
We were like the smallest, probably the lowest power of like all the guys in the. That may not be true, but there were like a lot of people were pretty strong in those races, and even so, in those like P12, P123 races, you can like sometimes sneak in a top 10 or something just by being in the right place, being on the right wheel, and like finding yourself at the front near the end, and beat a lot of guys who are a lot stronger than what I was or you were last year, I think.
Weirdly enough, though, you put all those same people in a gravel race, I think we do probably
Yeah. Yeah.
as well, if not better. But that's not the people who are gonna be in a gravel race.
Yeah, true. True. It was the Vermont Overland, by the way. Suleiman Kangangi died at Vermont Overland race. Crash at high speed at the gravel race. And I think they had come for like a couple races and then anyways. Wasn't let go.
So is cycling getting more dangerous?
I think it's getting faster. And I think it's strangely, it seems like it's getting more like popular. I don't know. Like there's more people doing gravel races. Like it feels like there's more people racing
I think racing is
crits
probably,
now.
I think racing is great. I don't know if the actual like cycling base has gotten bigger. I think more people are trying racing. I'll give you that.
Yeah, so I would say, I mean, if it's getting faster, if more people are doing it. Yeah, I mean, I guess equipment's getting better. So fewer crashes aren't near as fatal as they were, but yeah, I don't know. That's a hard one to say. Are the improvements in safety gear outweighing the improvements in speed, which has a greater effect?
And like, what about public roads? Like, I feel like I'm hearing more and more accidents happening. But I guess that's just like population growth.
Is that just because we hear about it now? Being more in the world of cycling?
I guess I would argue though, like we didn't hear about as much the last couple of years. But that may be coincidental, maybe COVID, like more people now on the road. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. There's just been, I feel like I'm hearing more and more crashes, and there was the girl who passed away
Zoe
in
Clay,
the
yeah.
mountain bike race.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I guess that is more to your point of like equipment getting faster, and I mean,
What so you hear this all the time, like, and I think there's a lot to unload with indoor training, but like what part do you think indoor training has to play in that?
I would say early season race crashes, pretty big part. I think what it's done is allowed people to come in a lot stronger than a beginner has been in the past. So maybe in a group ride, they are feeling like they're doing big pulls, one of the stronger people, and they'll get into a crit thinking I'm one of the stronger people, and never really had to corner except in one pace line where everybody slows up around the corner. So for sure on road racing has a negative effect. I don't know about gravel or mountain biking. Gravel probably. Mountain biking, I don't think people do unless they've had time on a mountain bike. I don't think it appeals to people around here. Yeah, they don't want to.
People don't want to.
Gravel, because it's gravel, probably more so. I bet there's a lot of, I mean, did you see that reel of the beginning of that gravel race. It's, I shouldn't laugh, it was insane. It's just like you see this.
It's just on the cyclist posted.
No, that one was like, it was worse than that one. That one was funny too. But there's this, oh man, I'll have to find it. This clip of just this like probably, I don't know, 120, 150 people. And as they start getting close, one person goes down and it's like a wet dirt road and the whole group just starts sliding, like the entire group. And for sure that was some like Zwift hero who had never ridden outside on anything other than a road. So for sure gravel, but I think in general, gravel is attracting people who aren't as confident
Yeah, yeah,
riding their bike.
I think so. I think so. I even would say like, I have no like stats or data to back this up. But like everyone talks about how like indoor training is like, even though you don't get the bike handling skills, is like better for fitness. And like, again, no data to back this up, but like, I don't feel like indoor trainer riding and outdoor trainer riding, or like indoor watts and outdoor watts are the same.
Agreed.
And like, I would even go so far as to say, like, I've seen plenty of people that like on their indoor trainer can absolutely obliterate me, and the like workouts they do are insane. And it's not the same outside. And I think it's like putting down power outside is different. And like, my hot take is like, I think if you want to be like competitive, you need to be riding outside. Like how many of, I don't know, all the like SoCal guys they say are the best crit racers, best road racers, like they have the weather to ride outside year round, and like they are for the most part. Like there's a place for indoor riding, but like, I don't know, man. I like feel like it's probably good for time efficiency, but I don't know if the watts inside are the same as the watts outside, and I don't know if it translates 100%.
For sure, it does not translate. Like 100% facts. 100. I mean, like I'm with you. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I should say, in my experience, for sure, it does not translate. Like, there's some aspects that translate. I would say my like zone 2 up through you got a little spittle mark.
Cotton Hill beard.
Zone 2 up to close to threshold, just like holding a steady power. Like I've definitely gotten stronger through organized, structured training, which I didn't have outside. I didn't have a power meter. I wasn't learning. So I would say that's more so based on the fact that I'm actually putting time on the bike. But for sure, like just from the simple like things like standing up out of a corner on the road versus on the trainer. On the trainer, for people who can just put down a steady power, you don't necessarily lose anything in a race. But when I stand up on the trainer versus when I stand up on the bike outside, there's something to be said. Like I'm by no means a sprinter, but I feel like my first couple of pedal strokes, like I have like a nice little kick, or like a nice snap. That doesn't translate on the trainer, so everybody's kind of evened out. You get on the road, like that's an instant gap. From, like you said, from all these people who on a trainer are just gonna sit there and pedal at the same rate. Yeah, and I think that's hard to replicate. I think the like Zwift and Trainer Road, like have done a good job of like trying to replicate it, and I'm grateful for that because most of my rides.
I was gonna say, this is coming from two guys that have ridden outside maybe twice in the
Well,
last
that's
2
what
months.
it was cold. It's 30 degrees outside. No, I'm grateful for what they have done, and like it. Yeah, I think I'm getting stronger by riding on the trainer, but agreed. Riding on the trainer is not necessarily making me the best racer I could be. In any hour I spend on the trainer, an hour outside would have made me a better cyclist for sure.
And yeah, it also helps a lot of people say like there's a lot of coasting time outside. Living in Virginia Beach, there's not too much coasting time. So I guess in some ways riding on a flat road is good, but I have heard
But then
if you
like,
live in a hilly area, like
yeah, I would say counterpoint, like no matter how much resistance you get, a climb is not the same thing as a Zwift climb, even if you have the
Mhm.
little wheelie thing at the
Mhm.
front of the Zwift.
Yeah, no, that's true.
No, I agree. I mean, I'm grateful for the trainer because you can get a really hard workout done quicker. Maybe that would be my argument for the trainers. You can get a hard workout done quickly. And like
Mhm.
you said, there's not as much time. I mean, we've talked about cycling being a selfish sport. Like, I think that's discussion for another day.
Yeah.
But you can get a lot done in a little bit of time. And dude, I can't hold a steady power. I need the trainer to set it for me, and then I can suffer without having to think. But those videos, I want to do that video where I shave my leg or do whatever, 250 watts or 300 watts, little loop, shave my legs, do it again.
I'm not sure if
think
you
I
can
can-
publish that about.
Dude, I can't publish that video because people are gonna see my inability to hold it.
You go to low enough RPM.
I can't do that either. I also don't know if I can shave my legs, but.
Oh, man.
Well, and yeah, I mean, yeah, no, agreed. But I do love the Swift races. Okay, here's a counterpoint. If you ride outside on your own, you are never going. This is taken
Okay.
about. Obviously,
I
an
know where
outside
you're going with
race
this.
is the best thing you can do to push yourself. Like, you're not going to see growth until you've gone beyond your ability level. A Zwift race, and oh man, I'm sure like every cyclist that's ever like opened up a piece of data is gonna disagree with me here. I don't care. A Zwift race is gonna make you stronger than a ride outside on your own. Because in a competitive environment, maybe depending on how you're wired,
Mhm.
I push myself harder in a Zwift race
It'll
than I
definitely
can
push you harder, yeah.
then I can push myself on any given, on average. Like, on an average day, me doing a Zwift race, I think I'm pushing myself harder for the sake of competition than I do on a personal ride. Unless I'm like geared up and like
Mhm.
individual time trial. But in any case, the same effort is maybe a little more fun when there's an
Yeah.
actual race.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
definitely easier to go harder on a
Maybe,
Zwift
yeah,
race,
maybe
for
easier to
sure.
go harder is the.
Can't pretend I study enough about training to know if that'll make you faster or if it won't, but I feel like if it's what you do on the weekends on your crit races, it's not that
Dude,
breakfast.
you don't get dropped. Like, I'll put it as simple as that. Like, yeah, okay, training aside, I don't know either, but I don't think anything I say in this entire podcast is ever gonna have data to back it up. But dude, like, you can't argue that in order to not get dropped, you have to experience suffering without getting dropped.
True.
And like, spending time at your limit is the only way.
To learn that, yeah.
Yeah,
For
to
sure
realize you
that-
can. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of people, I don't know, a lot of people, I don't know what that necessarily means, but I guess in our races and our rides, the drop rides, whatever, like, you see the point where a lot of people are like, oh, I can't keep doing this. And it's like you do enough of those races, and as you're getting stronger, you realize, oh, you know, I can do it for a little longer. And like, oh, if I'm suffering, then this person's probably suffering, and let me peek around and see if that person's suffering. And like, spending time at that limit. Zwift is a little different, but you can see everybody's like little power and whatever. Like, I think it allows you to be observant at your limit and like kind of think strategy. It's not the same, but there's still, you still got to think about what's coming up. And I would say it for sure um replicates some
Mhm.
parts of racing.
Yeah, sometimes I actually wonder if I'm actually ever getting stronger in the last like 2 years. Or I've just gotten better at suffering a little bit more. It's like my strength is
Oh,
still the
yeah.
same, but I just can dig a little bit deeper and suffer a little bit longer.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, I feel like my lungs also probably are, but my legs are like the failing point usually. So for that, like, I can see like a little bit, but I started a lot lower than you did. Where does running come into play? Like, is that something that benefits you or hurts you?
I was pretty big into running, so I like after college took a few years of like not doing anything seriously and actually got back into running more seriously before biking. I think I'm a better runner than a biker. That's for actually I know I am.
Who's that?
Not that I'm amazing at either, but I started getting
Oh,
into
yeah, what's the
biking.
fastest mile you've done this year?
Wouldn't even run a mile this year. Um, I don't know. The only thing that I'll say is I think I like climb a lot better on the bike with a running base. I like the last year I didn't run as much. And I feel like I was really strong on the bike and around here, all the crits and stuff, it was fine. But I still think like even with my higher power of last year, I think I was climbing a lot faster 2 or 3 years ago when I was running more. But that's the only thing that I've noticed, and that's just purely based off feel. I don't know if that's the ability to sustain a higher heart rate for longer, because your heart rate naturally climbs higher when you're climbing. Difference in muscle
Well, dude,
recruitment.
I want to stop it.
climbing.
It's just like, I'll let you keep going, but I mean, I remember when we started training hard on the bike, you couldn't get your heart rate.
Yeah,
high.
that was
So I would
interesting.
say I would
Mhm.
guess that probably has something to
Yeah,
do with it.
yeah.
Whenever you'd be like, I just can't get my heart rate up with riding
Yeah.
or running, you're just pinning it. Anyways, that, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that was interesting. And it took like a year or two until like I feel like I was biking and I never got my heart rate out of the 160s, no matter how hard it was. And
you
then the
top
less I
out.
ran and the more I biked, it would naturally like I started being able to.
What's your,
Um,
you top at 190?
190 about is my max. Yeah. Um,
I have no idea. Never measured it. But you were saying muscle
But-
groups then.
yeah, I don't know if it's the angle of like the bike changing your muscle groups too, but I would definitely say like I think running helps with my climbing. Probably with all around fitness, but I don't know.
So then as a Tour de France hopeful, I know some of those dudes run a lot, like, I guess they probably just climb, they have mountains they can train on, which is probably better than running, but
I always wonder, like you've seen enough of these guys do crazy stuff, like I feel like these guys are just freaks of nature, and I don't even know if we can like compare our
yeah.
genetics to theirs. Like Freddie Ovett, I know he was a good runner before, but like trained for 3 weeks for the New York City Marathon and ran a 2:30 something on 3 weeks of running. And like Simon Yates broke 3 hours on a marathon. I don't even know if he was running at all. Like I feel like those guys are just something about the like genetic makeup allows them to just literally any endurance event.
So did you, when you started running again, like, did you feel slow compared to what you remembered?
It came back pretty quick. I was actually surprised. So I've been running a lot more lately. That's also probably a story for another day. But it came back pretty quick. But like running 10 miles straight was something that like even with all the biking I was doing, to do that was took about everything out of me for a couple weeks until I could kind of work that running base back up. And I'd be sore afterwards, like super sore.
I bought a new pair of running shoes. And I said I was gonna run today. I did not. So yet to I couldn't tell you the last time I ran. I would agree with the climbing sentiment. I think if I started running again, that would probably make a difference. It doesn't really matter for the time being. But no, that's interesting. But yeah, I think that's a good time, good as a time as possible to wrap things up. But maybe we can talk about why you're doing more running next week.
Tune in next time, guys.
Cool. Thanks for listening.
Thanks.